I want to thank Celine, the producers, A24 2AM Killer Films, for bringing us this film. We are a festival of discovery, and for the programmers, there is nothing more exciting for us than to come across a fresh voice like Celine's. It's the reason we do what we do. She is part of an amazing group of first-time feature filmmakers here in the festival, 70% of whom are women. And I can say that Past Lives is the most profound experience I had watching a film this year, and actually probably for several years. The writing is so remarkable, its depth of understanding of character, an elegant way of being both authentic and structured. There's a beautiful aesthetic alchemy, its visual approach, its pacing, its acoustics, its score. The performances that she elicits are completely spellbinding. But I have to admit, as I was writing the program notes for the catalog, everything I wrote seemed to feel reductive of what was happening. There's a quality to the film that is not only truthful and piercing, but it does something truly extraordinary. It gives shape to the experiences that we as human beings are not able to see in our daily lives. And at some point, you have to just accept that words are not enough, and great art can work in a way that just will remain a mystery. Celine has been working in theater for several years. Her play Endlings was first performed in 2019 at the American Repertory Theater, and then in New York in 2020 at the New York Theater Workshop. She's been a finalist for the Susan Smith Blackburn Prize, semi-finalist for the American Playwriting Foundation's Relentless Award, and many, many other fellowships and programs for emerging artists. Her first foray into film and television was as a staff writer for the first season of Amazon's Wheel of Time. This is her first feature. I'm very, very happy to welcome to the stage writer-director Celine Song.
Hi everyone. I'm so honored to be here. First of all, I want to thank John and Sundance for having us. It's such an honor, and I'm just so excited and happy to be here with my very first film. And because it's the first film and it's such a personal story, and a story that's inspired by my own life, so it just means the world to me that you guys are all here. I'm just so happy, and and after this film, I'm gonna be here for the Q&A. So if you guys wanna, hear me ramble more, I'll be here for that. So I just wanted to just welcome you. Thank you guys for being here, and I'm so glad to see you.
Thanks everyone for sticking around. Please welcome back writer-director Celine Song. All right, I'm asking you one or two questions, and I'm sure you have questions too. I wonder if you could start by telling a little bit about your writing process, particularly when it comes to something that is pulling from many different places, personal, philosophical, and yet still trying to take shape as a story. Can you talk a little bit about how this thing found its shape?
So I think it has to be some kind of an inspiration that can carry me through the entire writing process, which itself is pretty painful and lonely and everything. So the thing that was really the thing that inspired me was really finding myself in a Balinese village, sitting between my childhood sweetheart who had come to visit from Korea and my husband that I live with in New York City. And I was just, I found myself, because I'm bilingual and bicultural, being able to speak to both men, and both in language but also in culture. And also I could feel myself be somebody who's able to be loved by both. So I think that really, that moment, that made me feel so much bigger than I've ever felt in some ways. I think that's what really drove me through all of it. As for how to write it, it's more like you're pursuing something that is like a really small light in the dark or something, and then you're just keep crawling, hoping you get there, and then eventually something becomes clearer. You try to make it more clear, and then that's how the writing process is for me. Just really more like with each draft, you're just trying to make it clearer and clearer what I want to do.
Given that in this case, unlike your previous work, you're writing a film, and even though I didn't see endings, to me there's something very, in having looked at pictures, there's something very pictorial and very trying to expand the stage. Did you find yourself in this case writing with images? Was there, as you were trying to approach how you were going to write it as a film, is there, do you dream in pictures, so to speak?
Yeah, I think part of the story that is like many continents and many times in a woman's life, and I think it spans decades of a person's life. So to me, it really was coming to me in form of images, because the thing that I was trying to pursue was how life feels as a whole. And how one can experience it in an hour and a half or something like that. And to me, I feel like that's really, the time was the thing that I had a stronger sense of than specific ideas about how to shoot something. Some things were really clear to me, and then some things it was more like, I know what it has to feel like. And then of course, you find locations and things, and then you just find the images specifically as the story goes, yeah.
You were talking a few minutes ago about the actors, and one thing that is often true about actors is that they are looking for concrete things, right? And that creates a situation where in directing them on set. In this particular case, like to me, the thing that is most beautiful about this film is just how messy and conflicted and not clear and ambiguous all of those things are. So when you found yourself trying to talk to the actors about those things and those scenes that are so ambiguous and conflicting, what language were you using to talk to them?
I think that you're so right, because what the actors have to do is so difficult, and they don't have a lot to help them in the movie. They're doing it so raw, and I'm giving, they're barely any makeup, they don't, so they're really playing something where they're so natural and something like that. And part of it is they, of course, are always asking me for certainties. They're like, how can we make this emotion more certain? And one thing they can just point to that I can just do. And every step of it is asking them to be okay with uncertainty, because that is what the story's about. The story isn't about no one is ever supposed to be feeling one simple thing at the one time. So part of it is like getting the actors acquainted with the feeling of uncertainty, and then feeling like they just like have to exist in that. And so to me, that was really a big part of the conversation.
Was there ever any moment in the film where you felt like, having gotten to know the characters so well, maybe in the writing or in the production, they began to pull you away from the personal experience and the idea that you were writing from a place, but then you had discovered who these people were, and they were different, and they're not you, and were there moments where they pulled you in a completely different direction, these characters?
I think that sort of, it wasn't a process, it was more like something that we decided to do from the beginning almost, because even though this is so inspired by my own life and things like that, we're not like public figures. I'm not trying to like emulate a character that we all know or a famous person we all know. It's really is about the story itself. So it was really being defined by how we're going to tell the story the best we can. So none of the actors were asked to emulate the way that the actual people are, even though of course Greta is looking at me every day. But I think that it's really, and so it was really left to them for like, how much they want to draw from the actual people. But it really was more about what is the sort of like emotion or the character or the story, whatever it is. It was more like we're focusing on that more than copy the way I speak. It really wasn't like that at all. So to me, the process was from the beginning, like me saying to them, it's like you're not going to become the actual people. You're going to become Nora and Arthur and Hosung.
Question is about shooting in different locations, creative choices about that, it being a first feature.
So I think that as the person who is the bicultural and bilingual center of the whole project, I feel like I ended up also having to engage differently with different film crews in two different cities and two different, just fully different filmmaking culture, right? And I brought my department heads to Korea, and of course, most of them, their Korean was not very good, or they didn't really speak Korean, so it was kind of amazing, like whatever was going on in the film was actually happening in the filmmaking as well. So I think I would say it was difficult, but the thing that wasn't, I mean, different cities have different things that are difficult. Sorry, what was it? I was just literally, what's going on is in my head, it's like I'm flashing back to all the difficult things about filmmaking. So,
well, I think I'll just want the one part that you were sort of saying about lighting and about how the places are different, maybe some of those creative choices.
Yes, of course, and I think the part of it is that the story of the movie is that these places sort of exist inside Nora, inside myself. So because of that, the lighting and the choices that we're making were being defined by, those were the choices that I was making because I wanted to make sure that everybody in the audience could also understand what it feels like, the existential, the existence of somebody like me or somebody like Nora, of like being able to hold two places at once. So that sort of is a thing that we were drawing from. So that's what made decisions about, is it going to be the same lighting? Is it going to be different lighting? That kind of thing. Yeah. Well, I think that the writing of it was really the heart of it. I feel like that I had what you're describing while I was writing it, because I was realizing that how much the kid that I left behind. I mean, I guess, and I think it's like just honestly encountering the child actors in the movie. I think that was kind of revelatory too, because I was like looking at the actress and the actor, and then making decisions about how they're going to look and things like that. And then it really made me think about the kind of girl I was then. So to me, I'm like, yeah. So to me, there's some key moments in the writing where you realize that you can write this and that you will be able to, that this is worth pursuing. And it was the first scene that I wrote, and it's really the thing that really got me through writing the whole thing. And to me, the thing that, the reason why it began that way is because of the mystery. I believe in clarity, but I believe that the mystery of the story should be really clearly presented for it. And when I was sitting there with my childhood sweetheart and my husband, the thought that I kept having, because the people who were serving us drinks, they were sort of looking at us, was like, there's no way anybody who's looking at the three of us, the weirdest three fucking people, there's no way that they're gonna know this story. They have no idea who I am and who they are to me, and the ways that they love me and the ways that I love them. Like, it just was so, to me, that felt so important that we sort of enter into the film that way, of like, what the fuck is their story?
Okay, sir, yes, and the mask coming off.
Yeah, really beautiful. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to run afterwards to another film. So loved every minute. And was sobbing at the end, and I am yet another of those white American Jews who married a Korean American woman. She did convert. I'm really curious, since it is autobiographical, and the last scene is so beautiful and so powerful. I'm curious how the three of you have continued to interact now that a couple of years have passed since that last scene.
I'm still married. I assume that's what you're asking. And then I think with my childhood sweetheart, it's we still connect online. Yeah, emails, sometimes. Guys, you guys understand that this was asked after the premiere as well, and I think it's only a good sign. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. By the way, the actors asked me as well. They were like, "Can we please?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. You will not touch." And what I always say is, in this movie, only married people kiss. So.
Yes, the question was whether you wrote the Korean proportions in Korean, and then, I'm sorry, the subtitles, how you dealt with the subtitles?
Yeah, I mean, what was, so when I was starting to write the script, one of the things that felt really discouraging and made me feel like maybe no one's gonna ever make this movie is final draft doesn't support Korean language. So, and I speak both languages, and I felt like since a lot of the film is going to be in Korean, I thought that I should certainly write it in Korean. So the script is bilingual. So when they're speaking Korean, they have Korean, and then underneath there is a translation of in English, and of course English parts are just English. And then the subtitles, and the same thing was going on, where it's like subtitles in the movie is an essential part of the film, especially when it comes to when Arthur and Hosung and Nora, when the three of them finally get together, the subtitles are actually part of the picture in a very real way because of the way that has to communicate what it's like to have that kind of language barrier between three people. So part of it is really kudos to my post-production team who we had to sort of invent a lot of the ways that this particular movie was going to work. So yeah. Well, I think if it was a play, I feel like I'd probably said it that but I feel like the thing is, I think that the story should inform the medium always. And to me, the locations were such an important part of the story. So the difference in Korea and New York, to me, was enough reason to write this into a screenplay instead of a play.
Okay, we have time for, well, there's 2 hands up, so I guess you win.
Me?
No, sorry, the gentleman behind you. Raising 2 hands.
Very effective. How do you write that?
I usually write silence. and then I usually describe what the silence should be. I feel like it's important to make sure that silence is evocative enough that it's going to be understood by the actors, and then the actors would sort of read what I had written there, and then that would be the thing that informs it.
Questions about the editing, and then also how different the final version is from earlier versions.
Mm-hmm. I think that first of all, post was part of, because it's the first film I've ever made, so a lot of it is some of it is learning as you go, but post-production is a place where I felt the most at home in, and I felt like, oh, I know how to do this shit. It really felt like that, because I think that I edit, being a writer, having been a writer for a long time, you do edit a lot, and what I actually really love though is that you could edit so much too, you know what I mean? Film, it's you can do ADR, there's so many things in post that you can do to sort of really re-examine your writing again. So to me, I don't remember what the question was, but I loved the editing part. I really, really loved it. And when it comes to theater, and this, what was the question about the theater?
Production script versus silence.
Oh yeah. I think because I come from playwriting, I think that often my asking of the actors to do the lines as they're written would be probably, I assume it's probably more strict than maybe another filmmaker who does a lot of ad-libbing and things like that. So.
Sorry, folks, we have to wrap. I know other people had questions. We have another show coming in. Thank you so much for your questions.
Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.